Hello, I'm Matt from World of Ukes and I'm looking today at Uma ukuleles. Uma is a relatively new name in the UK as of now in January 2021, and they are making instruments which are really quite impressive, and I'm going to demonstrate 9 of their different models that I've got here at the moment. Uma is a Taiwanese company and they make their ukes on the mainland in China, which is quite a common thing. Certainly Anui Nui do exactly the same. UBU is a Taiwanese company, their factory is in Vietnam. Miller is also from Taiwan, they make theirs in Taiwan, but these are Chinese made but a Taiwanese firm, and they obviously look after their quality control, and it's nice, well, it's relatively easy to get from Taiwan to China, so they obviously go to the factory and check everything out, because they're really nice instruments. And one benefit of a brand like Uma is they are distributed in the UK by a friend of mine called Mark Pugh at his company Stones Music, and Mark looks at every instrument before they go out and checks them and sets them up. I mean, he's a lot older than me. That's for you, Mark. He's a lot more experienced than me, is what I meant to say. And I've been doing this for 10 years, but he's been doing it for a lot longer. And so everything goes through his workshop, and I can tell this one has been set up already because there's a telltale bit of dust on the nut there where it's been adjusted. And with an instrument like this, I check everything and do any work that's necessary, but I've already had a look at this one, and the only thing I'm going to have to do with it is to just wipe off that bit of nut dust on the fingerboard there. So yeah, Mark's got a good eye for new brands. He deals with Risa, Magic Fluke and Kai, Baton Rouge as some of his catalogue, so he knows what he's looking for, and I tend to see what he's come up with and have a bit of a test of the water when he's come up with a new brand. And Uma was something that he got first of all with their fan fretted Pulse series last year, but now he's got the full range in, and I've got several of their models. So I'll get on with playing each one and having a little bit of a discussion about what they do and the prices, and then demos of the sound. So let's get on with it. The first model I'm looking at is the Uma Baby T. Now this one has a concert size body and a tenor scale length, so the fret spacing will feel familiar to tenor players, and it's just got this slightly smaller concert body which has a little bit of a sweeter sound perhaps. This one is laminate acacia, but it's got a comfort edge, like a satin finish, and the tuners seem really good, and it's got fluorocarbon strings which give it a real zip. Nice model, really quite inexpensive. The prices I'll talk about are all from January 2021, so you never know what's going to happen. They'll probably creep up in time, but the price of this one, £139, and with a model which is a bit of a hybrid, tenor scale, concert body neck, you get a gig bag with it, which is quite handy because it's an unusual model, so that's taken care of. So let's give this one a try. Yeah, I'm really impressed with it. It's so easy to play. So let's have a listen. This next model from Uma is the UBU-20, which is a laminate mahogany baritone ukulele. Now, it's fairly plain, it has to be said, but it does have a neat and tidy build, and some of the laminate lower end baritone ukes can sound a bit muddy and lifeless, but this one's got a bit of brightness to marry up with those bass strings. Again, really well set up and easy to play, so that's a bonus. I often think with a baritone, unless you are a committed baritone player who's going to play baritone every day of their life, if you're just looking for an instrument to fill a gap in your collection and to, you know, give a baritone a whirl, absolutely nothing wrong with that. And I think that's an area where you can perhaps save a bit of money if you like one of each size. The baritone's probably not the one I'd sink most of my money into, because the very fact that it's got different tuning, the strings are D, G, B, E, so you get these wound strings, they're Aquila, which give you a deeper rolling tone because of the tuning and the bigger body size. So you get that sort of essence of baritone sound from something that's relatively inexpensive. So what you'd be looking for is something that's easy to play and sounds good, and I think this model fits the bill. Not a looker particularly, but perfectly nice and neat and tidy. So let's try this one next. Moving on now to another baritone, the UBU-20S. This one differs from the previous one we saw because it's got a spruce top. Now this is a laminate top also. The back and sides are laminate mahogany, but it's a classic look of spruce on the top and mahogany on the back. And it's got a little bit of decoration around the sound hole and black binding around the body, which just makes it look a little bit smarter than the other one. Both of these baritones, by the way, come with a Uma branded gig bag. In theory, there shouldn't be a lot of difference in the sound because these are laminates and not solid wood, but this one's equally as easy to play, and it's the same, not rules, but suggestions I made with the previous baritone hold true with this. Just this one's a little bit prettier perhaps, so we'll demonstrate this one as the next one. The next model we're looking at is the Moon SC. This one has a solid mahogany top and laminate back and sides, also mahogany. This nice maple inlay around the sound hole is quite striking. This section here might look on your screen like a beveled comfort edge, but it is actually completely flat. It's just decorative, and that crescent shape gives it its Moon name. This is a much brighter sounding instrument than you might expect from a solid mahogany top. They do a lot of mahogany models to Uma, and they have that in common, that there's a bit more punch to them than you might expect. It's not the rich, smooth tone, not lacking in body at all, but it does have a bit more of a sparkle to it as well. That's in part down to the clear fluorocarbon strings, which are nice and light on your fingers. Again, bit of nut dust on this one where Mark's already attended to it, but everything gets checked as well here at World of Ukes. It's got closed geared tuners on, but they are very smooth turning and seem to be robust. Yeah, very good price on this one. Comes with a really nice gig bag too. Quite how they do it for the money, not quite sure, but this would suit someone as a really serious beginner instrument, or someone who's stepping up from something, a cheaper laminate perhaps. Yeah, very impressed with the instrument. Looks good and sounds good. So let's listen to it. The next model we're looking at is the Moon ST, the bigger brother of the SC that we talked about earlier. This ST, T as you'd expect, stands for tenor. Same specification as the concert, solid mahogany on the top and laminate mahogany on the back and sides. The gloss finish that's applied is very well done, and it probably has a little bit more body because of its bigger body than the concert one, so there's a little bit more richness in this one, but very impressive again for the money, with the gig bag too. So let's listen to the Moon ST. We're now on to Uma's UK-20SC, which is a concert ukulele. This one is all solid mahogany, and a very good price for an all solid mahogany instrument it is too. There's a nice slotted headstock and unbranded geared tuners, but they're very smart, very nice to use. So it hasn't got Grover marked on the side, but I can't see a great deal of difference other than that. Again, they've gone with clear fluorocarbon strings, which I think are in part responsible for this more peppy, zippy sound which complements the mahogany. So it kind of gets more of a balance, an all-rounder of a ukulele, this one. Very pleasant to play also. So let's get on with a demo of the UK-20SC. The UK-20ST is up next. Again, it's the bigger brother of the concert we saw earlier. So the same specification for this one, all solid mahogany. Great price for an all solid uke. If you desire to have a all solid tone wood ukulele, but perhaps the prices of some are putting you off, then this one is very highly recommended for its ease of play and its well balanced sound. There's a bit of richness from the mahogany as you'd expect, but it's nicely balanced by those fluorocarbon strings to give more in the trebles, so it does a bit of everything. I think if you play with your thumb, it's nice and smooth and rich, and if you play with your fingernail, then you get the punch from the trebles a lot more. So yeah, very nice, very inexpensive for what it is, and I'm impressed. So let's see if you are. Next up is something a little bit more unusual. It's the Pulse ST from Uma. This one is an all solid tenor ukulele. On the top is solid spruce with a nice tight grain. On the back and sides it's solid walnut. But that's not perhaps the unusual thing. Nothing unusual about an all solid tenor ukulele. But if you notice, the nut and the saddle are not straight, and neither are the frets. What does that do? It gives you a little bit more tension on the G string, which is a low G, and I think in this case definitely worth keeping the low G. It's designed for a low G, and it gives it that bit more tension and a bit more ring and a bit more sustain. Another thing that you find is that the pattern of the fanning of the frets matches your hand movement. So as you bar up the neck, your finger doesn't naturally go straight along like that. It moves with your fingers in that fan pattern. So it's actually quite advantageous for bar chords. I'm not a huge fan of bar chords, I have to admit. Probably my patience hasn't allowed me to practice them enough to execute them perfectly every time, but it's definitely an advantage. It's a lot easier for me, certainly. It's not a magic wand, but it does have an advantage, and I can manage those bar chords better with the Pulse series. That low G tension, as I say, gives you a bit more sustain. It has a wound low G on, but if you're not a fan of wound strings but have found the fluorocarbon low G strings a little bit flappy, for want of a better word, then that extra tension, that this slightly increased scale length of the G string, could be the answer. So also just a very nice ukulele in general. I think the spruce is quite bright with the fluorocarbon strings, so it definitely matches up and suits that low G well, because you need that bit of bass to counteract those quite bright trebles. So I'll give this one a try next. Finally, we're on to the Uma Pulse KT. Now, just before I talk about this one, just to say that there is a concert version of this and of the spruce one we saw earlier. I've just gone with a demo of the tenor ones for now. Gloss instrument, this one is all solid as well, and it's a very nice acacia. That K in the KT specification stands for koa, but it isn't koa. They would say it was Asian koa, but it's simply acacia, and there's nothing wrong with acacia in my book. Again, it's got this fan fret arrangement for the advantages we talked about previously. So I think I'll just get on and play this one right now for you.